Graeme, a week ago you outlined what you were looking for in a new Hibernian head coach. You and Leanne have moved quickly, so you must be confident you've found your man.
Yeah, Jack's been on the club's radar for a number of years now, and I think it was good for us to follow a real thorough process, and I think that should give Jack comfort, that even although there was other people that were considered, a number of different factors about Jack, in particular about his career, we thought really suited the club to where we are just now. The criteria we set ourselves was a little bit wider possibly than it has been in the past, so we're looking at things like a coach who's achieved a degree of on-field success. So Jack can obviously talk about his League One at St Mirren in particular, and even the success on the pitch of keeping him up in the first season was a fantastic achievement. We looked for somebody who had a history of bringing through academy players, which Jack's done at a number of clubs now. We looked at somebody who can play attacking football, and I can probably speak later about how the process has helped to identify that, and somebody who's been adaptable in terms of the way that they play. So all these factors point to Jack being a really good candidate, and I think as we followed the process, as I say, it should give him a huge amount of comfort. The fact that we did follow a diligent process, but as we followed it through, it became clear that Jack was an ideal fit for where we are, and probably most importantly as well, that we feel that the club's in a great position for Jack to come into and take it forward.
It goes without saying, but you also said that you wanted it to be the right fit for the candidate, so you must feel as if Jack's found a natural home here.
Yeah, and I think that was a key part of the whole process, was not only are we looking for a head coach that fits the club and hopefully can deliver the things that we want on the pitch, but the club needs to be in exactly the right place to suit the candidate. And these two things, as I say, were two of the critical factors that we explored through the process with a number of different people. And at this moment in time, we just feel as if Jack's the right guy on both these fronts. So the club's in a great place for him to be successful, and we think that he can be in a good place to take us forward as well.
Jack's obviously been on your radar for a while. He's well known in Scotland, but you still have to do your due diligence. What does that look like, and how did that reflect on him? Yeah,
I mean, I think that there's a couple of things I want to speak about in here. One is it's always challenging to transition a head coach, particularly in circumstances like we're in just now. I'd really like to place on record my thanks to Eddie May, to Grant, to Stephen Whittaker and to Alan Combe for their professionalism over the last 2-week period in particular. But when you look at a head coach, and again, there's a number of different staff members that have been involved in the process. So one I'd like to highlight is our analyst, head of performance analysis, Calvin Charlton, who's pulled together a real detailed piece of work on all the candidates who we eventually took into the shortlist. And he was able to be really clear in terms of the style of football that they played, which was quite an important factor. But looking at some of them would be the headline things, so win percentages has been something that you can dig out pretty easily. But really looking underneath that and trying to put a lot of the data that we collected into context. So some of the challenges that Jack faced last year at Sunderland were huge. So people would speak about having the biggest budget in the league, which is accurate, but when you're trying to transition guys on League One salaries and a dressing room with guys that are on Premier League salaries, there's a huge challenge in there, and that sometimes is a context that people forget. They played 61 games last year, for example, in the league. So even to talk about the fact that they didn't get promoted, to actually have a season where you're competing on so many different fronts and trying to achieve on so many different fronts, you need to take these things into context as well. So the process, and again, I want to make it clear, nobody gets a Hibernian head coach's job on the basis of an interview and a PowerPoint presentation. There's a huge amount more work goes into it than that. And when Calvin can produce the document that he did to go forward to Leanne, myself, Ron and the board, it shows that there's a real good piece of work to support what we found in the interview process, and these two things together means we know we've got the right guy.
How will you work alongside Jack? How will he dovetail with the rest of the staff at HTC?
Yeah, and I think that's also another important factor is looking at what the club's got, and this is when we speak about the club being in the right place for the head coach. So we know there's a lot of good people and good systems in here to support performance. Jack will have priority in certain areas where he really wants to use certain people or individuals or departments more than others, and it's my job really to help identify that and help support him in that. Ultimately, Jack's responsible for winning football matches, picking his teams, taking his training sessions. The recruitment department's here to support him to help recruit good players that can help us to achieve on-field success and on-field performance. So the relationship I've had with every head coach here has been different. Coming into a new role will be different again, but ultimately my job is to support and to help Jack lead the football staff, and together just to try and achieve success on the pitch.
Finally, part of that support is going to be working towards the January transfer window. Jack's in the building for the first time today, but I'm guessing that process is ongoing anyway. It's already started for January.
Yeah, so again, I think we've probably identified where the squad is areas that we can strengthen coming into January, so there'll be a number of different options. Jack might want slightly different types of players than we've looked at before, but I don't think there's going to be a huge difference in terms of the players that we've been looking at and working towards and the types that Jack would want to work with. And again, that's part of the process, looking at a coach who can use the types of players that we've got in the building to play the style of football that we want to play. So whilst there will still be absolutely additions made in January, I don't think there's going to be wholesale changes, and that was a key part of the process.
Jack kicks off on Saturday with a home game against Motherwell. What would your message be to supporters that are swithering maybe whether to come or not?
Yeah, I think it's the slogan that the club's come out with is "Back Jack," and I think that's what we want to see. I think we want to see the supporters out there in numbers. Jack's talked about it openly that Easter Road's a challenging place to come when the supporters get behind the team, and that's really what we want the stadium to be. We want it to be a difficult place for opposition players and support to come, and the game on Saturday gives us absolutely a great chance to get closer to the area of the league that we want to be in. So just encourage the supporters to come out and support the team in the way that we all know that they can.